Hello everyone, this is SNQ again, and we're back with another devlog number 3 for club2k, which is the name I've kind of settled on. So there's been tons of work done since we last chatted. There's a bunch of things. First off, I think first and foremost, the most important thing is I got a friend of mine who's an animator to do a little breakdance animation. So I have a little emote wheel. So first one's my amateur block bench one I did. The second one here is some breakdancing. So pretty cool. He's a little off center, which is kind of funny. So that's something I will have to correct. But otherwise, looks pretty cool. If you notice over here, there's a new button called Bake to Map. And I'm going to explain that very briefly here. But first off, what we're going to do is, so we have wireframes. So if I press X, I can see all the wireframes, right? For the collision boxes, which is really handy. And then I did show previously the ability to add hitboxes and configure hitboxes. Something I did add since that video was if I just import little guy again here, I can import it. And then if you see, there's Q and E to rotate, which I think is pretty cool. So if you just hold Q, you can rotate it however much you want, or also E as well. Pretty great. You can escape to cancel that, which is pretty awesome. There's an interesting bug here. Don't know why that's happening. That's interesting. Okay, this is really good to know. We're gonna come back. I'm gonna keep that in mind. That's not supposed to recapture the input of your mouse. I have to configure that again. Another thing I added too was general structure actually to how the maps are supposed to be formed. So I'm going to put a picture on the screen. Essentially, what I did is I put the maps into JSON. And so what it'll have is have an ID of the map name, and then they'll have the bounds, the ground size, and then the environment, which can configure the sky color, basically, the fog, if there's any fog, where the sun is aligned, what color it is, the intensity of it, ambient light, spawn points, and then I can have water as well, which we'll show you very soon here. And then it also includes all the static objects as well. And so these are all the objects that you place onto the map. So what you do basically, what ends up happening is that back here in the game, if you import a model and then place it down and you do a bunch of that and you press bake to map, then it will bake it to the JSON. Now this is only for the admins to do, right? This is for me as a developer to create the levels myself instead of having to go back and forth between Blockbench and between the terminal and whatnot. So instead, I just have I can just model everything. I put all my models in here, align them along the grid, change all the elements and stuff. Then I bake to map to adjust everything finally. Now, every map will have basically these things called doors, right? So if you see this little circle, which I will revise, but I just made it this large for debugging sake, this will teleport you to another level. So this one goes to the river valley right here. And so it has a little river, which is pretty cool. So definitely will add some, fishing mechanics. And then there's it has a different sky color as well, as you notice over here. If I want to go back, we just go back to that little door, which is on right over here. Okay, so there's the general gist. The gist of map baking and creating maps in general as an admin, and also made make it so that I can hire people to build for me, so they get the builder role and also have access to all these toolings and stuff. And eventually, I think I'm planning on making an inventory system so you can have a bunch of prefabs that you can play around with. But for now, you just got to import it, and then of course, you can control copy it, control copy and control paste, which is pretty good. So overall, it's pretty sweet about the map baking thing. Now, the additional thing I added here, which was one of the bigger things I've been working on today, is basically where every user gets their own home. Now, it's really interesting because you can, I don't currently have it set up, but basically there are user permissions that I've added so that a person who goes to their own home cannot have people go into the home unless they're invited into it. And so no one can get into your home, right? It's your home unless you explicitly allow it. So how do we get to the home is you press T for chat and then do /home. And it'll bring you into your little house. And so this is your house, and then and you, as the owner of the home, have permission to add furniture in. So that's something I'll be adding in soon here, where you can just kind of customize your space. And then you will be able to customize the gradient, the lighting, and stuff like that to your liking. And then I plan on also adding in a whole other myriad of changes. So yeah, right now, of course, no one can come into this, but if you go back to this hub, then other people can join. They just can't go to your home. So if I just go to home, and if I don't want to use the door, I can just press /hub. And yeah, so that is currently what we have so far for devlog number 3. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you have any suggestions of what you want next and implemented next. I aim to, once I have a lot more of this permission stuff set up with the homes, I plan on adding in some extra mini game mechanics, which could be quite fun, including fishing, racing, a couple other stuff too. So a lot of things on the books. Very excited. And yeah, thanks again for watching. And I'm excited for this journey.